Welcome to How to 30k into the Breach. I'm Leonardo and these are the Steel Judoka, which are the second squad from Archive, so where the Rift Workers teach you the basics about the telegraphed attacks that makes this game so fun. The Steel Judoka, you cannot get away with just damage. The Brute is replaced by a Science Mech with very limited capabilities. Can only get enemies closer from afar. But the key thing here is Vek hormones. Enemies do +1 damage against the other enemies. For this reason, actually, I'm going to use Kazaplet, though we'll talk about other pilots during the run, which I'll condense down to a watchable length. I keep the most interesting part of this run. We go through how to get a perfect score into the breach. I did a 2 island victory on to train Kazaplet, so you want to start with a fully upgraded pilot, ideally Mech Reactor and Mech Move, though in this case only for Kazaplet, maybe HP would have been better than Move. Was lucky enough to get this as a first time. Ideally you want to just start and abandon runs to get the upgrades you want. Legendary Thief Kazaplet Kilik is a character can be recruited in FTL. The Pirate Mantis hungry for insect blood. I'm not going to read Kazakhle because these are the sounds I want to avoid when recording. Not that you can understand it if you read it. Also with the power core, by far the best upgrade, we can pick whatever we want. So we can make the Scorpion deal 3 damage instead of 1 to other Vek. We need to pick the battles very carefully because most unsolvable situation in the game, though there are not many, you can avoid it with the smart planning. I don't like the Psion, reducing damage, since we have so little. We are more about manipulations, and also this leader sounds very complicated. Archive is not too bad for now. Exploding Psion might be a problem, but not right now. And Pinnacle Robotics. So the first island you can quickly restart the game without losing anything, keeping your pilot. So the first run, you just need to pick what seems to be the hardest one. In this case R.S.T, and then go through quite fast. We can postpone the discussion where you got this advanced weapon until after you use it. And we got a lightning storm and defend the train. We could go around, but I like the train mission even though they are the toughest one. Alright, Steel Judoka, let's make this a clean sweep. The toughest island with the toughest mission first, so that you can always restart and don't lose much time. So we have a 4 tiles displacement dealing 1 damage instead of in the center on the corners. So we can already get rid of the Psion, which is a very good thing. And we can also change. We could also block, but it's not worth it the first time. So I'm going instead to move towards the border. And that's the pilot from the Titus. So the island they belong to just gives some extra color. We didn't use Kazaplet yet, but seems quite easy despite being a train mission. So we can get rid of the bugs like this. Now maybe we could use Kazaplet. So instead of repairing, we give up on repairing and we deal 2 damage like this. At this point need to be careful not to damage the train because we are already done. But again, this was the first mission, so you can always restart. It goes poorly. But having Kazaplet is actually a great advantage to get more power to the gravity mech, which is otherwise very limited. So we don't need to play like with the ranged mech from afar, we can go close and personal. We're being quite lucky with the objectives. Let's go to the next one. Even though it's not the best, by far not the best starting position, but it's the Vek getting close here and they get in a corridor when you cannot move them. It's very awkward, this corner. The other reason I wanted Kazaplet, like Harold, he can push. Though I've not yet unlocked the Harold on this profile because I haven't found him. But Harold would be also a good choice because this squad lacks pushing. As for everyone else, it's a nice bonus, but if we'll find him, we'll find them. Otherwise, we can survive without them. Now, In this case, the webbing is very annoying, but I don't think it's worth it. Having a pilot would be great, but not giving up Casaplet for the other one. So with the Cataclysm we don't need to worry much. Actually, we can also kill, no? Nothing to worry about. Things are going smoothly, but this mission is very tough. In my original run, one of the first videos I recorded for this channel, I did R.S.T as a third one, and we are good. And yeah, the third island is probably the hardest one, with how balancing works, depending on which extra weapons you find. That chasm should prove too deep for even the Vek. Maybe we should start sinking more of our island. We have got 4 easier objectives, so take less than 3 crit damage. You always want to do that, because it's always guaranteed. If you take crit damage, it's not that 30k run anymore. Now here you have an example of the power of the siege mech, as in the mass displacement objective. We can get rid of everything like this. Unfortunately, yeah, here there is actually, I cannot reach that. So maybe it wasn't the best idea, but yeah, I need to worry about that. Cataclysm is not helping too much over there. We get them to hit each other at some point, but for now, just Cataclysm, if it's a flying enemy, it actually doesn't do anything. I should have done the Psion first to get some damage here, but nothing too important. Though it's quite easy to get overwhelmed, so if you don't get the perfect turn, the game is very punishing, so even if it seems an easy turn, you need to think forward, worry about the following turns. Here I'm in a bit of trouble, because I still not have the upgrade Buildings Immune, which is actually the most helpful upgrade if you have 2 cores, but we can use him to block. Now I'm safe. I can do this though, and that should be enough to win. Actually, this is a very dangerous position when you get an enemy on void tiles. Judo Mech is too far away to reach here, so I need some help, like this. And thanks to the armor, I won't die, even though these pilots, like all pilots, are expendable. Don't need to worry about killing everyone, just focus on saving the buildings and then worrying about the optional objectives, which in this case was guaranteed. So we have the last option. We got defend the prototype Renfield bomb, the most low reach mission basically. Prototype for the final mission, and also we got the pod, which I think is guaranteed 1 on the first 2 islands and 2 on the 3rd and 4th. I don't think it was like this at release, but after the March 2020 update, it seems there are more. So this is the turn order, which means I cannot use the Firefly to kill. I just hoped to get to work on this column, but because of the Alpha Hornet, here we are a bit of trouble. So I'm going to go back over here and then do this to avoid losing the time pod. So probably not the best turn, but also we got a 4-tile displacement if there was no building. The initial positioning is key, and you need to guess make an educated guess where the enemies are going. And the issue with having an artillery attack is that I cannot use it on the nearby column to push it against itself, like any beam projectile attack in this game. So I'm a bit of trouble here. That's why Casapet would be great, but I am stuck, so I'll need to use the Judo Mech to get rid of this one, even though it won't take damage. Probably I could have killed it, but we can still restart the turn if it doesn't work out. And here we are in trouble again. I think this is the only way to get rid of the Leaper, because it was on the same diagonal here, so there was no option to hit the Leaper and avoid these 2 tiles. A tough lesson to having chosen the defend the bombs objective to get 1 extra star. Now I just need to decide, well, this one cannot reach, so yeah, if you want to simplify your turn, you can see which one of your mech has a first move and then work from that. Be careful about the bumps, and don't want to lose my mantis. I need the buildings immune over here as fast as possible. The firefly will actually kill the leaper, so we don't need to worry about that. If we move out of the way, we can ignore this one. So instead of focusing on killing the most enemies, I just played safe since we have the armor. Don't need to worry much. I could kill some extra HP. Actually, hitting here would have been more XP, not HP. Both prototypes survive intact, and we barely scraped by, but we got Isaac Jones, which is not so helpful. Actually, it's helpful to play faster, so you can play faster and reset more. So even if I recommend using Vek hormones over here, I think that the second, when you have 2 cores, it's actually a priority to get buildings immune, as we just see in that mission. So we'll get back to the gravity mech working from afar and not doing much. A combination have been sighted. It's spawning a horde of Vek spiders and attacking R.S.T tower. We need your mech now. The ranged mech is the one on the front line, even though he has just 2 HP, so not the best option, but it's forced by the fact that impossible to avoid hitting the buildings in this situation. And I used my reset because I did this on impulse, which is great for the smoke, but then the smoke will also block us. Instead, I found a more interesting situation, since I don't have the mantis here, which is just to see how much the pilot helps. I can do this, which is also good. Dealing with a spider is always the priority because it spawns more and more enemies. How bad things can get with a spider and an armored scion, but luckily bumps are not affected. So finally we can move that. With Eric 1 we could have done a cooler combination like this with the siege mech over here and attack this style. We can do still a good thing. And here you can see the damage problem with the Steel Judoka, and that's why I did this first, so I could reset if I lose. And we got 1 mech reactor, which is great. With the spider blob so far away, there are not many ways to damage it, and the spiders are keeping us occupied, but luckily we can do some damage over here. Harold would be perfect here to push these 2 to block, so it's a good alternative to Kazaplet, but I haven't unlocked this on this save file, which is the one I used for the first, for the 100% achievement in 11 runs I started this channel with. And now if you want to keep the perfect island, to get the perfect island achievement, which is actually very helpful in the long run, we need to move very carefully. Luckily in this case it's not too much of an issue, but the pilot makes such a big difference. I put the mantis on the range and it didn't help at all. You've proven yourself in the field, Isaac Jones, but to prove yourself to me you'll need to save R.S.T first. We just did it, we won. And we got one of a few bits of praise from Mrs. Kern. Must admit that was an impressive performance. The only time Jessica Kern will give you a compliment. And we got another reactor, very lucky. Completed every mission on R.S.T despite the odds. You have earned my respects, Steel Judoka, and everything we can offer. And we got a flashback to the Rift Workers, so we got the Rift Worker weapon, which is on a perfect iron ward because I guess the game considers it much more powerful than other weapons. So that would solve most of the problem with the pushing, the same attack as Kazaplet. On easy difficulty actually, Ghana would be very strong. It requires 1 core, but it can start anywhere on the map. Bring him closer to the Vek, so you have higher probability of the Vek attacking him instead. It deals 1 damage when it lands, but aside from that, the Titan Fist is what we want. Especially after the 2020 update, in which all pilots sell for 1, well, assign it to the island. Speaking of which, we have solved our pushing problem. If I wanted to use the secondary weapon, the biggest weakness of the Steel Judoka will be solved. We will equip them by using only when it's really necessary. We don't have any Burrower, so the spider is a good choice to get rid of him first, but I'm trusting Dewey extra help that we got an archive from the secondary objective. Instead, I'm more worried about the Pinnacle Robotics objectives. Also, the Digger is not so easy to dispatch with our squad. Well, at least its alpha version. And I haven't used my course yet, but we have 2 high threat missions, and this time I'm lucky we can avoid them. If you want to go for a perfect 30k run with all objective, of course, the best bet is to avoid the high threat missions, though I have a hard time skipping them, not just for the extra reward, but for the extra challenge. Now, the ice storm is not actually helping us because we need to kill 7 enemies, and if they're frozen, not only they will stay alive, protected by the ice, but it will also reduce the enemy spawn. So I think it's 0.67 times the calculation. A frozen Vek counts as a bit less than a moving Vek, rounded down. 3 frozen Vek will count as 2 moving Vek for the calculation of the spawning of the next turn, and the more enemies you have on the board, the less spawn, of course, depending on difficulty. And the healing Psion does not help, so let's first deal with that. Kazakh is back on the gravity mech. The good thing about the ice storm is that it protects the building also. If you're lucky enough, like in this mission, we have only a few buildings and this storm is actually freezing them, so we are good from a 30k perspective. Now we just need to worry about the secondary objectives, that is, kill at least 7 enemies. And of course Kazakh cannot repair, so we are stuck with 2 HP. Also, if it's on fire in this map without water or smoke, we are dead. So I want the bump, but I don't want the Judo Mech to die, so I'm doing this. And I guess I should use the Gemini missiles. Let's see if we can do without. I can block because we have enough enemies on the boards. And now the ice storm is working against us, so we need extra care about the movement here, because these 2 would be frozen. If they're frozen, they cannot kill each other, so yeah, thanks to the armor we barely survive, and we should get the last kill. That was close. Yeah, kill 7 enemies, it's always a tough, another objective you want to avoid. We have 2 easy missions. I'm not going to pick the one with the shields. Take less than 3 damage should be is a guaranteed start. So I don't need the extra shield. We will be perfect mission to get the pod. Aside from that, nothing to worry about. This seems the perfect moment to use the Gemini missiles, but actually we can take care of the Psion too. Also, I should point out that if the beetle didn't attack first, this one would be a bad mistake. And we get this one stranded over here. It's quite funny. Poor Alpha Scorpion, nothing he can do because he cannot move through water, so let's just put him out of his misery. And we got smoke bombs. And that's actually very helpful if a catapult gets on fire. I'll put that on the Judo Mech just in case. It's an any class weapon. Buildings immune. I wonder if this will even matter. Yeah, I like to keep the course until I have a tough mission, so I can change strategy a bit. You never know what you get on the overworld map, and here we get freeze and defend both robots. Not the best idea. I should have probably picked ally immune. And this starting position was a disaster because of the buildings in the way and the extra mountain that blocks me. So without Eric 1 or any flying mech, I'm stuck, and that's why you need the secondary weapons, otherwise the run would be done, the 30k run I mean. Almost lost again the optional objective because I moved the freeze tank one up, but luckily we can save that, just barely. Now we could use the freeze tank just to simplify our lives. Of course it's out of range of anything. Well, we can use it to save the buildings if we need that. And we can get some extra XP from this guy, but instead I'm just going to freeze him, so smoke doesn't matter. It's just frozen over here. It won't move. I was too close for comfort, but that's why I wanted to get rid of Zenith, and this is done as a second island. It's even worse if you keep as a third. Maybe as a fourth one. It's with fully upgraded weapons, actually easier. Now, logic says that if I take the defensive shield active mission, I'm good to go to the next island, basically. But how can you resist the challenge? So I swapped in the Titan Fist instead of smoke bombs and extra damage, and use the Gemini missiles instead of buildings immune, since actually we don't want buildings immune for this mission because we need to destroy them. I'll break them out of the ice, so sometimes the Vek will not target the building, so we need to help them ourselves. The basic Steel Judoka squad with buildings immune upgraded actually has no way at all to break the ice because it cannot attack directly. It cannot attack an immovable object like the buildings. That's why the burrowers are so dangerous, the nemesis of this squad. And then just going to block. If there are too many Vek at the beginning, you won't get as many spawns later on. So you need to start blocking from turn 1 or 2. If you don't badly need XP and you want to finish this fast, the best idea is to block every spawn. If I keep blocking one spawn, we are guaranteed that it won't go away. If you start blocking turn 1, it will persist the whole encounter. And didn't check the turn order, but it's fine. We'll break out of the ice. And we are done. So I've been extra careful with the optional objectives because that's the half the time I try a 30k run, I'm tempted by a high threat mission and then I lose. I cannot complete one objective. Now only the final boss is left. Quite happy with this loadout. Aside for the building immune, which is now mandatory basically. Here we have our favorite abomination, plus 1 HP regeneration, explode on death. Would be perfect for vaulting here, but there's a firefly in the way. A good thing we have the Gemini missiles. Could have moved that before. It's okay. And that's perfect first turn. Thanks to the vault ability. How's it called? The Vice Fist, right? Also, even though the Vek is on fire, it won't melt the ice, only the tile on fire will melt the ice. Can use them finally. They seem to take too long to adapt to changing condition. I want to think how to try to maximize damage since we are almost at full XP anyway. We are doing well. Don't need to play perfect. And we got another perfect island. Silica, I connect twice if it does not move. So this is a good option, but not as a starting pilot because it requires 2 power. Unfortunately, it has great defense. Targeted strike can be get out of jail free card. And we get another get out of jail free card. And another one. Critical shields actually is power grid reduced to 1, so I never use that. Projectile version of our gravitational well. The electric whip, so we are collecting all the main prime weapons. So the game would probably actually be easier if I ditch the original weapon, and of course I'm not going to use that, and then just getting cool. And now we have the choice between Archive and Detritus, spiders in both, and here we have the Borrower. I'm going to leave Dewey for last, as I thought. The 4th island actually I think it's the easiest one, if you manage to pick the right weapons for your squad and upgrade them. Detritus is up again. And after a few loadout changes, the game is teasing me with the hardest mission behind 2 easy ones. When you get power grade is always easier because it's just defend a building, which if you are doing 30k is guaranteed. Also this one is guaranteed, take less than 3 crit damage, so I guess we're going to do that. We'll have fun with conveyor belts, which actually limit the tiles you can start from. Need to be more careful about the spider because of course he's going to target me when there's a empty tile, but I don't mind because anyone could come here. I could have vaulted behind me, but he's already behind me, so it will go away if I ignore him. And that's actually perfect. This would get rid of the webbing, but I can get rid of the spider turn 1. That's another great turn 1. Don't need to worry about the Leaper. Just 1 HP, so I can easily defeat it. Perfect. Targeted Judo Mech, not an issue. Aside from the Blast Psion, of course. I did put Silica on the ranged mech, but I still haven't used it. That's more worrying because I cannot vault if they are attacking me from the same side, but that's why squad synergies are a thing. Keeping my mech closer to the spawns so that the Vek cannot even get to the buildings because they find a juicy target before the building. Added smoke bombs just in case, but yeah, it would be an easy turn anyway. Instead we can get rid of all. This would seem very tough with the high threat, but you find a disposal unit, and as I mentioned for Archive, here in the Tritos we have very helpful allied units, which means that probably Zenith is the toughest, as the toughest option objectives, followed closely by R.S.T, depending on your squad. The toughest part here would be Destroyer Mountains, of course. Disposal unit is actually a big help. And that's not the best place for a pod because it will get destroyed. So again, pushing becomes extremely helpful, and I will prioritize the attacking Vek over the non-attacking ones. We got maximum level reactor and HP, that's very good actually, but I wish I could have the opposite, move here and HP on the mountains. Oh well. And being webbed is not a problem for Silica, of course. It's actually a very good spot. And again, I'm kindly standing here as a potential target, so no issue at all. I can just block to end this battle sooner. Disposal unit is actually very powerful. So you usually get 2 free turns with the acid launcher instead of while the other 2 are used to destroy the mountain. Could have added some smoke. The mission is basically over. Unless I press spacebar by accident, ending the turn before I can use it, because I don't have, of course, turn confirmation to make things move faster. And we really created a wasteland here. That's not much more to say. Getting the kill with Silica gets some more XP to him. And we got Burning Mortar, a weapon we don't usually see. Set 5 tiles on fire, but with self-damage. Very dangerous, especially with most ranged mech like ourselves, only have 2 HP. And we got a double free star. Less than 3 damage, protect the old earth bar, which means we are basically free to do whatever we want. There won't be any issue. Don't need to worry about objectives, also we have only a few buildings. And I already reset because I moved here forgetting that I have Silica instead. I can do better than this, so I'm going to use Giant Emitter here to get this kill, and need to be extra careful about the exploding stuff. The dangerous part about this mission is the blasting psion. So I have attacked once with Silica. I can attack again, but first I need to move this out of the way because I want the scarab here to land, and now it will explode here. Yeah, outer shell failing, but I don't need to worry about that. I just need to worry about blocking smoking. So I wanted to smoke over here, but I cannot do that. But I don't need actually to smoke this one. I just need to smoke the digger. And of course in this battle, I didn't read, but the Vek are adapting to acid so rarely. You get Vek spawning out of the acid in detritus, so I thought we were done before we were done. The third island is always tricky. This time because of the blast psion mostly, so that I cannot kill the Vek near buildings. I really do need Silica to get rid of the digger, because we need once to take care of the boulder, and then the second one will push this out of the buildings. That's actually very tough because of the psion, so we cannot kill near the buildings. I found only one solution that doesn't sacrifice Silica, because if I kill this one, it will explode and Silica will be dead. I needed the ally immune here to vault Silica over here, or I needed the smoke bombs in the same pilot as silica, whether here or here, because yeah, silica is overpowered with the smoke bomb. You can jump and jump again. Probably one of the strongest combinations in the game. But I wanted to play with the Steel Judoka. The Steel Judoka want to the Vek to hit each other. So I want to follow the Steel Judoka's philosophy, but the problem is that sometimes the battles seem easier, but the Vek really don't want to attack. There's no option to make the Vek attack each other, and this almost costed me silica, but I can still use the smoke bomb. The boulders are really blocking my movement. I can still do it thanks to the upgrades. Smokes help so much with these diggers and burrowers. That's why they're advanced enemies. They won't appear on the first island, I think. Also here the spider luckily came out at the end, so we don't need to worry about him. We just need to avoid damage, and we are not good at all, because if I do this, there's no way of getting rid of the leaper, which will explode on death. So even though the siege mech can deal with 2, I need to do something different, because these are stuck over here. Luckily the spiderling egg, the minions, do not get the bonus from the blast psion, so it won't explode and will be a good boy and save the building for us. But yeah, the blast psion with the Vek blocking our movement between the smoke and the boulders, we are actually in a very bad spot, but I think we can save it. And I'm still here because again the combination blast psion and blocking my movement between smoke and boulder, which we cannot go through aside from the webbing here. Actually the webbing could be solved doing this, but the problem is that the judo mech cannot reach any useful tile because the boulder and doesn't have ranged attacks. So even though I could come here and then smoke these 3 tiles, I couldn't find any other combination that could do that. So what I'm going to do instead, and again use silica, since I invested 2 cores on is acting twice, and because I know that it's very powerful on the ranged, so things would have been much easier with the smoke bombs instead of this missile, which I used first turn and then never used it. But I found a way, which is not what you expect, but this pushing this one, dealing double damage here, actually 10, it's all good, but how can we get rid of this? Because if we do this, they will explode. Instead, we can use the gravitational well to move silica without moving silica, and now I can push to the right and explode where nothing gets damaged. And I definitely don't want to touch this, which luckily minions don't get the bonuses from the psion, so this one will protect us. And well, smoke or no smoke, it doesn't change anything. So actually smoke immune the spider, but it will die for us. That was much tougher than I thought. So the side objectives were actually easy, but the board with the enemy spawning, it's very tough. Should have used the smoke bombs on silica, but I'm going to switch. I didn't want to make things too different from the starting squad, but at this point you are forced to do that. So yeah, now we don't have a choice. We need to do easy mission. Actually, blocking Vek spawning 3 times is not as easy. I think it was guaranteed the second time pod, but for us it's actually worse because it counts as an objective. So if we fail the time pod, we won't get the perfect island reward. We got a very tough starting position because most of the starting position is occupied by mountains and buildings, so that was a bit unfair from the game. It should have let me, actually if there are fewer tiles it will let you spawn on the corners. But and of course now that I needed the smoke here, I put it on the other one. We could kill. The issue is that the Vek corpse will not destroy a time pod, but the pool of acid that results when you kill an enemy with acid will. So we lose our perfect run. So what I can do, I actually use all the power of silica to smoke over here and then do this. But I don't know where to put Isaac. I could leave it in a corner, but I think I want to get rid of this. So I will lose the armor, but I have enough health, so I'm not too worried about that. Yeah, I added health to block, but I'm afraid I'm going to use it this way because actually it's an acid, so never mind that. Kazakh plus punch comes in handy, doesn't want to get outperformed by silica. I have to start blocking at this point, even though the judo mech is stuck over there. Yeah, this is not the battle for the judo mech. Cannot do much, but instead of moving, I'll do the cool thing and jump, and then I guess get rid of one. We have buildings immune, but not pods immune. At least we are cleaning the field a bit. But now I really need two spawns. Luckily one is guaranteed and the other were almost guaranteed because there were only a few enemies. This kind of had more health, that would be an easy turn like this. Instead I need to do something more fancy. Also I don't have armored anymore, so I picked up the pod, but I will get 2 damage, still good enough. Oh, I could have punched, but it wasn't enough to kill anyway. Of course the spawn will go away next turn, so we'll need to stay here. That's why I added extra health, which we are not using. Well, I could kill actually the spider, but I can also repair as the second turn. Shouldn't move. Push this away and we are good. Was worried for a second. Now that we barely survived that, let's do something fun. So by putting my mech over here, I baited all the attacks, but of course we have stuff behind. So what I want to do is to use the boss, which is massive, so it doesn't die in water. What do you do when you are stuck? You jump. And with silica, we can do this. Then I have also the option to take care of these. Cannot reach the spider to push them into water. Smoke puts out fire, but is it the opposite true? Yep. So now we can build a wall of fire and fight fire with fire. So we have the beetle leader, adds fire to the tiles it passes. Yes, I added burning mortar as to a science mech, and added the mantis on the judo mech, since the punching attack is basically the same as repair. Mantis slash, which we can do over here. Instead, Prospero has not many ties to go, so I will just use his smoke to bring him back. Of course, fire and smoke neutralize each other. And now we just don't need to do anything, since we baited its attack over here. I can just add more fire. So the Vek is emerging here, will emerge on fire. We are on the same page, the Vek and I. Also this one will die after the battle. I have trouble seeing where the Vek are coming up. This one is don't like it so much. Then the question is, how can we add more fire? Start by putting this and using the boulder. Joking aside, I need to kill it next time. It would be very dumb to lose the bonus to make this mess. We could actually kill him already with fire, but that would be fun. So let's do this. I don't think I can add more fire over here because I need the gravity mech to drown this. Yeah. Silica, this mech has only 3 movements, so that's why silica is perfect, but you cannot use movement too much. We are blocking and the fire will do the rest. Only these two, a good hit from behind, and we are done. Actually, we could add more fire, that looks nicer, and that's it. Also yes, the boulder are considered enemy units, so you cannot go through them, and they are susceptible. They are damaged by fire. So I mentioned before the Herrick one, which allows the mech to move through enemy units, or Prospero, which straight flies with 1 core. You can move around freely. They would both help because the limiting factor with this squad is when the enemies block our movement, so we cannot reach them. While Bethany and Secret Alter Ego Mafan would work, are probably the best pilots in general, but if there's one thing we don't need is more defense. We don't need a shield. The Mantis fixed the pushing problem that we had. It would be fun to use teleporter. Let's see what we get. Self-destruct, that's another get out of jail free card, but need to be very careful when to use it. And that's some extra stuff. I'm going to experiment on the next island, then decide at the end. So now we face a nemesis, the Burrowers, with the two toughest missions right at the beginning. So we are forced to do this, destroy the dam and kill 7 enemies. Actually, the dam could help us. And after some upgrading, we are back with the teleporter, which should work really well. Though if I teleport my own, they will end up both webbed, so the teleporting works perfectly. There's no room to get rid of the webs. But luckily the Vek, even though we have a pod on the worst possible spot, and with a 4 objective is the toughest combination you can get, with the pod on the way of the dam. But we can use the dam to our advantage. So if we just pick it up, and then, well, of course they cannot move. I can do this or this, actually the same, since we are targeting 2 tiles. And clean field. So now we are free to move, and of course teleporter would work much better if the science mech would be flying, but we can use teleport in a less conventional way and get some extra damage on him, since the attack will light the tile on fire. Now that he cannot move, it will stay here and get the fire damage. We'll be fine with just 1 HP. We have the extra pilot over here, reserve pilot. Level him up in case we get in trouble without the main pilot. Now this one is already dead. No need to worry about that. I don't want to block everything because I need to kill at least 7 enemies. Almost forgot about that. Also I forgot that the minions counted for the objective. One of these, the grind is always right type of things. Devs do just small victories for the players. Actually the dam makes this much easier, so I was trusting Dewey to make the 4th island easier for us. So that's why the strategy layer seems very trivial. Instead, their small choices will make a big difference. The great thing about the dam is that most enemies cannot cross it. Unfortunately, the Burrower, proving again the greatest menace, are not so easily blocked, so they can burrow below the water. We cannot kill them at the last turn because they have too much HP. They will hide on the ground if we hit them, but they're also stable, which means that the Judo Mech cannot do anything, also cannot be teleported. Luckily we have our Mantis. They're in a perfect formation for our own ranged mech in this situation. At least we got one. To get some Patel is experience. And we got a heavy rocket. I don't see this often. It's a very high damage stuff for the brute. A lot of cores, especially because we don't have brutes. I don't need extra power grid, so I'm going to do tidal waves with the shield. That should be a cakewalk. Famous last words. Should have left this tile open for the Vek to come here, then they could have vaulted into water. They're already here. No need to worry. They will be dead soon. And we got the promotion. That's how you kill a burrower. So finally we are using the Steel Judoka to the fullest potential. We don't even need to do anything over here. Just remember to repair, and repair removes the fire from the tile we are standing on. And that's it. They are stuck. Nothing to do, just wait. Actually, yeah, I cannot get any more damage. Don't even need a tidal wave. Reactor remover, it's actually better than Silica if not for its ability. I don't just defend the tanks, but at this point I'm doing the highest value missions. So while we have Tachyon missions, I'm on this line because I'm worried about the Burrower coming over here. We won't be able to dislodge them if 2 enemies are near each other. With the Steel Judoka is not as bad, but this is the key point for this map. The only good thing about stable, we can do this without any worry, while I'll use this to get rid of the spiders. Burrowers are bad enough, we don't want spiders too. Unfortunately the burrowers moves before anything else, so we cannot leave it alone, unless I smoke him. But if I smoke him, I won't be able to do much else. This is the last tough turn, because the tanks will come online the next turn. Of course I added the ally immune on the Judo Mech, so we can move the tanks with our vaulting ability if you want. While the Soldier Psion is not too dangerous, just adding 1 HP. The Psion is actually helping. We can just push the Psion against this guy. We do this and the Burrower is dead because the extra HP was provided by the Psion. Just need to be careful not to put the tank in a tough spot. But yeah, when they come up, it's actually very helpful. And I could actually jump over here. Don't need XP, so there's no reason to keep enemies coming, so we are done. We can actually heal twice with not him, Prospero, and we cannot heal with Lily Reed. We remain on this island forever. We just need to pick our last encounter. I could have done an easy mission, but I cannot say no to a challenge. So here we are defending the satellite, and I brought Lily Reed along because I think I never used her. +3 move on the first turn of every mission. Perfect time to get webbed. That's why I don't put my mech in this position usually, but I ignored that because I thought we can move later, but no. The webbing is done, so yeah, we will never even use her ability. But good thing we have Prospero. So we get rid of this, and we have teleporting to get rid of this. So now finally the Judo Mech have free movement. It won't help us long term to make them hit each other, but at least we survive for another turn. Brilliant. It webbed its own offspring, so we can just ignore that. Without the smoke, this could have been a very cool move, teleporting there. At least we can do this. Of course the borrower is giving us trouble. So plan B, I didn't need to reset actually. It was fine. Really get on fire. My experience, it seems that the defending a building with the core seems harder. Maybe it's more central. Maybe it's just my impression. Should take care of that. Anyway, good. We'll be lucky with this satellite. Of course, the Firefly attacks later. Yeah, the game does not want me to use the Vek against each other in this run. Also, this is supposed to be a friendly island for the Steel Judoka, since they come from here originally. Half the map is on fire, again. So we'll play with fire with the next squad, the Flame Behemoth from R.S.T. And I'm getting my friendly kill. Need to play in the spirit, the Steel Judoka. The Vek are their own worst enemy. That's great contribution from Lily. I think she's supposed to be an orphan, so street kid basically, but not very helpful in gameplay. So the Steel Judoka work well with Archive because of the water, so you can vault the enemies, push the enemies into water very easily, but of course the teleporter needs flying to do the same. The basic weapons of the Steel Judoka don't work well. No spider here, we are safe to position like this. Behind, so I couldn't get webbed. I could teleport Silica if I switched places. I had a great shot over here. Actually, Lily Reed would have been more helpful on the Judo Mech, but we need our Mantis. +3 is a lot, so you can do this. But yeah, aside from the missions where you need to block, there are much better options. Actually, I have a surprise for this battle. We got a pull tank. Is already doing the big move. Need to start damaging the boss. Probably could have done something better, but without flying, the teleporting is not as powerful. And now I'm offering myself as a target. Hopefully Lily Reed will survive. Smart borrower here. Making my job easier. Yeah, I did reset because I did this, but then the Judo Mech cannot do much at the end of the turn. Instead, if I teleport him away, then I will be able to use him and get this one to kill the Alpha Spider, since I removed the other weapon, the extra damage. And also I could kill this, but yeah, it will destroy it by itself, so I'm going to move. Could actually use the tank to block. Now I just need to deal the final blow. Yeah, without the ranged mech would be very much in trouble with this map, with the water up there. So doing this as a first, if the Firefly ends up here as a first island, that means with just 1 damage at a time, it means we won't be able to kill it. So it was a good thing to wait to postpone this. And now just look how powerful 6 movement is. We have all upgraded weapons, instead the boss do not get upgraded. So doing as a first island would have been very tough, but now we should be fine. Probably. We can still do that. Like this. And yeah, one more turn, but hopefully it won't be too bad. The borrowers actually are the biggest threat. A good thing that they left the borrower for last. 4th island is actually much better to deal with them, especially if they put themselves in diagonal, so not an issue for us in this run, but I need to be very careful with the Steel Judoka. Yeah, the pull tank can sacrifice himself using the projectile thing. Can I actually kill? Yes, I can. Marvel at the power of 6 movement again. I can save the bot and finish, exterminate the Vek from Arca. And that's our 30k perfect run. Almost completed. Of course you need to do the final mission, but it doesn't count for scores, so we'll still avoid taking damage. We can take 6 damage on the final mission and it won't affect the final score. Oh, we got Prospero and the hit converter, which is actually more fun than useful. It's actually overpowered the freezing enemies, but just 1 use or 2 uses as maximum. That would be great with the flame behemoths. Hopefully we can get that next time. But at this point, having the extra ability is much more powerful than anything else. We can add health, movement. My mech is nourished. So let's see what we get. Spartan Shield could be helpful, but I don't think I have any free slot. And Raining Death is much more cool sounding than it is, since on the final battle on hard we don't have many enemies with 1 HP, only the minions have 1 or 2 HP. If I want to keep the Vek hormones, I need to give up all these cool weapons, keep true to the Steel Judoka thing, which I wouldn't do if this squad was randomized, but I'm doing a Steel Judoka run, so I'm going to keep their main weapons. As good as Reactor and Move is, the having an ability is actually better, and we don't need to sell him. We can get 30% with Isaac Jones, but I'm not planning on getting hit, so I leave it here. We have maxed out, so here having a extra core, the weapon on the pilot would be very helpful. Yeah, actually we don't have anything to add, so most of the cores will go here. That's another trouble with the gravitational well, it's not upgradable, so even if we had the core, you cannot use it for anything. Everything fully upgraded, aside from health, which maybe with the Mantis health would be better. Move is just too good. And here we go, the final island. The landmass appears to be recycling itself. Prospero was a gardener before being, I guess, reconfigured for battle. If you have extra cores, android pilots are much better than the human counterpart. The only problem we have with Silica is that the hive will target us, either with lava or directly with Psion tentacles later. So it won't be as easy to stay in the same place. I wanted to do this, but getting the Mantis on fire is not the best option. Yeah, I guess this one will live and we should be fine. Unfortunately, these attacks will not go off because of the lava. But yeah, I didn't have the room over here. And now it will die if I just push him a bit. Also, we got a blobber, which is much tougher than a spider, but there is no webbing. Now, we have a very complicated situation which could be easily solved if Silica were in this direction, but it would be too easy to just push them away, or even here push this guy on the volcanic projectile. So let's try something more elaborate, and don't look at the time. Here we have someone who's stuck. Doesn't matter the order, it matters that now I'm free. Now what can I do with a free tile? So normally you cannot get both of them, but luckily it survives with just 1 HP and it moves first. So let's see this majestic turn. Also, Silica on water is the worst thing you could have done, but it doesn't matter. For these fireworks, it's worth it. Yeah, great. I got the reactor now that I definitely don't need it. Now I could just do something easier with this, with flying Prospero. Instead I'm going to try a bit different. And we don't need to do anything about the Firefly has served its purpose. Now we can leave, and definitely not press repair on Kazakhstan. Basically half of Vek take care of themselves. More than half now. Let's just do it. Prospero was born for this. Just make sure I'm not on a tile. It doesn't matter how much HP we finish, we get repair anyway. Let's see if If we get, yeah, perfect, he will get squished by the bomb. You got the fire beetle. Do not allow the Vek to contaminate the device. This is the Vek as an infestation, Prospero. You have all these Vek in the way, and with a fully upgraded teleport we can reach it, and I cannot reach this tile to push the firefly away. These diggers are so annoying. Well, I guess it means they're good enemies if they're annoying. I want to do this and then make this one get hit by the firefly, but now the firefly hits this one also. I will barely survive. So not ideal. Not sure if I can do something better, so I think I'll keep the reset for later. So the tentacles are definitely not helping like the falling rocks. That's also a reason why Silica is not as good in the final battle. Also, this one is still alive, but this one won't be alive. We should be fine. Where a tentacle is targeting you, teleporting into any enemy makes things much easier. I actually didn't have a tile to use the gravity pull with. So let's see. Now the tentacles are happy. Perfect. And that's the duel. Could be in any film saying you are dead now. No, it's you are dead. And then you use your cluster artillery to get rid of him. But actually, if he had more health, Silica from here could have done a double. Too powerful. Of course, we can move through lava like we could through water, but it sounds like Silica is stuck on one tile. I can get closer. That's for later, even though we probably don't need it. It's always, if you can end with your mech in the middle of the board, actually, much better. And again, not the battle for Silica. Actually, if I get rid of him, now I can do this. And let's see what we can reach it. Yeah, teleporter is too powerful, and that's a perfect victory. Yeah, repairing is what you do. When you have a turn confirmation order, you end the battle with repairing, which you cannot do with Kazaple. I like to live dangerously, and just if I press spacebar, I will waste the whole run, because there's no undo when you have finished your turn. But the Vek have been uprooted, the tempered excavation. Yeah, Silica and Prospero should go well together. One was a miner and the other a gardener. Actually, one working below the soil. Doesn't matter now, they are being employed to save more timelines, and we did it once more. 30k perfect run, keeping all the original weapons. Next time we'll do the same with the Flame Behemoth. Hope to see you then. For now, thank you very much for watching. Take care. Actually, let's take a look at the statistics. Well, this was the original run with Bethany, Silica with the ranged mech, and a Prospero with something with teleport. I forgot about that. But yeah, perfect islands. There are much higher chance to get the right combinations, of course. Oh, I ended up actually removing the gravity well, which is not particularly helpful. I haven't played much since I finished recording, so that's just the practice run I did over here to train the Mantis, even though it would be much more efficient to start a new mission, maybe on easy with the punching mech, and then restart every time you get in trouble, instead of doing all the objective. 5 minutes you can get a max level pilot. We got the 30k, perfect. I kept all the original weapons, and I'm planning to do the same with the Flame Behemoth, but we'll see next time. For now, thank you very much for watching. Take care.